off of what billions of others are going to do?
Do I think God is just based off of his decisions?
Yeah, I don't think that's
honestly,
justice.
You're not going to like this. No. I think God is just because God is God. Like, who am I to decide what is justice? You know?
There you go. And here's the problem. You think you're the ant underneath the boot of God. You think that you're lesser because, well, God created everything. He may have power.
No,
hold on. He may have power, but is your worth lesser just because he created everything and he has the power? We're just an ant and he's the big boot. And we have no say.
I mean, well, yeah, I guess if you want to call it that.
Okay, so God's the big boot, and we have to bow down and worship him, or else he'll crush us, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right, and he created us specifically because he wants love and wants our worship, and he has the boot in our face and says, "Do it or else," right? So it goes back to my original question: why would you want to worship something like that?
Well, this is where I continue. You can think of it that we are like an ant underneath the boot of God until you consider the person of Jesus, who though having equality with God, being in the form of God, forfeited it, gave it up entirely, emptied himself to the form of a human, and not just human likeness, but to the form of a slave, completely emptied.
Whatever. Why do I care about that?
Well, you can't say, oh, well, God's just this cosmic being with a boot over us and we're ants, when God himself lowered himself even beneath us.
Okay, I don't care what the hell the God did.
Death.
Okay, so God came 2,000 years ago. God came 2,000 years ago, lived for 30 years, did nothing for 30 years, and then started preaching for 3 years, died after a couple of years of preaching. Great God there. Didn't write us any history books and about what actually happened that could be preserved. He didn't write any medical books, science books that could innovate and change civilization and help us. He didn't say anything about bacteria, billions and trillions of microbes that live within us and outside of us that most of them can kill us. He didn't say anything. He didn't teach us anything new. He didn't give us curriculums or math. He didn't show us about the world or teach us about the universe. He said, go love people. So, okay, great. And then he died. And then he, for some weird blood magic human thing, he rose from the dead. And God was like, great, now that thing happened, everyone can go to heaven. Even though he's the arbiter of heaven, he could have just let us in. But he's like, no, I want blood human magic thing. So why do I care if a God did this weird blood human thing, lived for like 30-ish years, and he lessened himself to us? Oh, we're just such terrible humans, and he had to be one of us. Oh, poor God. I have to be it for even longer than 30 years. If I'm lucky, right? Most people have terrible, awful lives as humans. Why do I care if a God, he had to go down to our standards? Okay, and I'm supposed to worship him and love him because he did that? Oh, this poor God had to be human for a couple 33 years. Oh, I must worship and love him because he did such a thing. Why? What? Okay, so you did some blood human magic ritual and taught people love each other, but didn't help us with the big things that would really help civilization. Communication, science, health, medicine. No, he couldn't spend his time helping the humans do what we actually need him to do. He wanted to teach us love people. Okay, we could figure that one out on our own, Jesus. Okay, right? So I don't know why God is now deserving of love because he came down as a human for a little bit and then died in this weird ritual that only he required. He's the one who required this. Nothing to do with me. People ate a fruit. I didn't choose to eat the fruit, but because some people eat a fruit, gotta come down in human form and kill myself and die and blood human sacrifice and then go back up in heaven. Okay, cool. That happened 2,000 years ago. Why should I worship and love this God?
I mean, I haven't really at any point said that you need to love God or that God earns love.
Jesus commands it.
I've said, yeah, he does. But it's not because he deserves it. God is love. Like, it's like the only acceptable expression of love is love that ultimately two things: goes to God and goes to others. There's two great commands that Jesus says: love Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then just the same, love your neighbor as yourself. And then we see in 1 John, well, how can we love? Well, because God is love. These are impossible commands if God were not love. And these are impossible commands if Christ, who is God, did not come down, humble himself to death, die on the cross for our sins, so that we could accept then the bringing in the whole trifecta, the Spirit of God into our lives, so that we are fully equipped to use and experience that love.
I'm loving just fine without God.
Okay. Well,
if God is love and God kills everyone with the flood and then says, I'm not going to do it again, here's a rainbow, next time is going to be fire, I don't want that type of love. If that's what God in love is, I don't want that type of love. A guy who's committed genocide, plans to do genocide again to his creation, says, love me or else. Keep that love. Keep it. Keep it. I don't want your love. That's your love? It's really bad love. I'd rather go be empathetic and help other humans. I'm studying medicine. Wish God would have helped out in that area thousands of years ago. Gave us like amazing textbooks and, taught us how to help each other. But it's okay. We as humans, we got it. We're going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn all this stuff. It's really hard. I'm going to do it. I think that's more loving than a God who's like, I genocided and plan to do it again. That's my answer to this human civilization thing. Killed them once? That was fun. Going to do it again. This on fire. If God is love, his actions are not loving, in my opinion.
I mean, that's based off of your understanding of love, and that's fair. You can believe what you want about love. That's okay. I believe about love. I believe that God is love. I do believe that the whole purpose of God
and the purpose of Christ is to bring people back to him, because the most loving thing he can do is really have us in his presence. Now, I'm going to use we, and when I say we, I mean Adam and Eve, and I'm talking about the general humanity, just to make that very clear so you don't ask again. We chose to step out of God's presence, at creation with eating the fruit, whatever. And in so doing, we forfeited the likeness and presence of God. Likeness as in we're made in the image of God. And then we are outside of God's presence, all of a sudden thrust into an existence of uncertainty, an existence of unsafety, an existence of purposelessness. And you could exhaust every possible thing out there in the world. Go through Ecclesiastes, everything you do. You work hard, it's meaningless. You become the wisest person in the world, meaningless. You just eat, drink, enjoy your time, meaningless. You have a lot of good friends, meaningless. It's all meaningless. And then you come to the end, it's like, well, here's what has meaning. Fear God and obey his commandments. And then
what the hell?
What are his commandments?
Did you just say amazing things and say those are meaningless? Fear God and love him, that's meaningful. What? You're telling me people could work their lives to cure cancer and find a cure, do everything possible. Humans working together for hundreds and hundreds of years. We finally found cures for things. We have cures for polio. We have cures for all these diseases. Woo! Meaningless. What's really meaningful? Bow down and worship and love God and fear him. How is that more meaningful than us as a species coming together and working? And yes, there's some issues with us, but we're coming together and we're building things, and we're talking on plastic and metal right now. I am talking to plastic and metal, and you are hearing me. I am hearing you through a wire. What's going on? We humans did this. And you're saying that's meaningless, but God, fear him and love him. That's the meaning of life. That's the meaning that you were meant for. Fear and love him. I'll take the first option. I'll take humanism over fear and love of God who created you. That's your meaning.
Yeah, it is. I have the same plastic and glass in front of me. I am, well, probably different. I've got a nice apartment. I'm on a comfortable bed. And I have a good job. I work hard. I'm making good money. And it could all go away in a second. I could die tomorrow. I can't take any of it with me.
But there's still meaning within your life. There's still meaning within everything you said. Just because it ends doesn't mean there's no meaning. There's meaning right now.
Yes, I agree. And do you know what the meaning to me is?
Everything you just listed plus more. All the things you didn't list. Your accomplishments, your goals.
Why do they have meaning?
Your relationships. Not because of God, but because of what you're doing with your life. You're making the meaning of your own life. Don't you see that?
I disagree.
So you would rather give God all the credit and fear and love him instead of realizing you're the one working hard in your life. You're the one doing the stuff. You're the one waking up every day and putting on your boots and putting on your pants and going out into the world and making something happen. You're the one sitting on here and talking with me, having conversation with 713 people. You're the one doing the things in your life right now. With the relationships around you, with your coworkers, with your friends, with your family, all this is meaning. And you're saying that's nothing but fearing and loving a deity that may or may not exist. That's more meaningful.
You know, it's funny how you like keep framing all of just like core beliefs as if they're just dumb, but like, yes, I agree. Like,
sounds kind of dumb in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie, it's not dumb. I don't want to say you're stupid. I don't think you're stupid.
It sounds dumb to you, but you're saying like, oh, do I want to give God all the credit for this? Oh my, yes. If I think of like everything I've done,
why?
Because not a single thing has been or could be accomplished without God. That is wholly what I believe.
You realize there's a possibility in all truth and reality of what we know that this God may not exist. And now you're just saying something that may not exist has all this meaning. And that's insane to me, right? It's insane. And I'm just hyperbole. I don't think you're stupid. I don't think you're insane. I'm just saying in general, like a hyperbolistic way, I think it's insane because it's like we do exist. We know we exist. We're talking right now. We're having a conversation. And we're going through our lives and doing all these things. And you'd rather give everything in your life and everything you've done something that you don't know exists. You're going to give that the credit. You don't know if it exists or not. You think it is, hopefully. Okay? But you don't know. Instead of your own self, instead of what's real, you can feel and touch and smell and hear and taste. Instead of those things that we can rely on, you're going to be like, possibly a God in the universe, in sky, in heaven, wherever he is. I want to give that the credit for my life. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yes, more and louder, dude. Like, everything you're saying is getting me fired up. Like, yes, that times 1,000.
That's crazy. I don't understand how that...
I'll give it up. All the people in my life, I'll give it up.
No, I'm not saying give it up. I'm not saying give it up.
No,
I'm saying you earn.
I am saying I will give it up.
Give what up?
I will give it up. Everything.
For what? What are you talking about?
Gladly give it all up. I mean, you're just saying like, I wouldn't.
What do
just
you mean
give
it
up? I'll give up the rewards, like the credit.
You're giving the credit to God. You're not giving something up. You're saying all this is because of God.
Yes.
The God we just talked about earlier, who causes division, who causes racism, who causes all these things. That God.
The God who I believe is not the God that you describe.
That's the God of the Bible. You said you're a Christian, right?
I am a Christian.
Right.
And
he chooses specific people.
You have outlined. Yeah, he did choose specific people.
Yeah, he caused genocide and plans to do it again, right?
Yeah, he did.
Right. He did some weird blood human sacrifice so we can go to heaven, even though that was completely unnecessary. He allowed slavery within his people and within extra people. So besides his own little group, other people as well. He commanded genocide and slaughter of little babies. Right? He did all these things. And you're like, that's the God. That's the God I want to give it to. Who says, love me or perish and burn in hell forever. Who commands you. Simon says he commands you, love me or else. And you're like, yes, I'm fired up. Slavery God, genocide God, love me or else God, yes.
You know, man, I'm not here to try to convince you of that God is who I believe God is. But everything he said, I mean, whoever you want to call God, yes, who I believe
We're talking
God
about your
is.
God.
Yes, my God, he can have it all. You know, my whole life. I don't care. He can have all the credit. You're saying he's commanded me to love him? Then guess what? I'm gonna say yes. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Why?
You can have it.
Why?
I mean, why does a mom love her baby? Why do people have pets?
I'm asking you why. Why do
because
you want to do this to your God?
Because I want to.
Why? We understand you want to. The question was, why do you want to?
It's because I just want to. I don't think it's that complex.
So you don't even know why. You just want to.
No, I do know why. It's because I want to. Like, I can't.
You want to. Why? Because I want to. We understand you want to. Why do you want to? What drives you to want to?
I believe that we are motivated by love and that eternity has been set in our hearts. I believe that God is eternity. I believe that God is love, and I think that there is an innate drive within every single human being to seek out after eternity. And from what I understand, from all I've learned and gathered and read and just experienced in my life, I believe that the end point of all of that is God. And I believe that there's something innate in the human experience that has us pushing after whatever that, I'm not going to say necessarily cosmic, but something transcendent. There's some sort of transcendence that is embedded within our hearts to seek after, and I believe that that's God.
And so you want to because of that?
Sure. I mean, if that's better than me just saying I want to, I want to.
Amazing. All right, Big Head, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, of course.
Deep breaths, everybody. Deep breaths. He'll get there. He's on the cusp. He's on the cusp. I can feel it. I can feel it in my heart. He's on the cusp. He's on the cusp. I love the Christians in the argument. They always say the funniest things. Always say the funniest things. No hate like Christian love. Let's go with... there's so many. Go to sleep. It's not even late. Time do y'all go to sleep? Keegan, how are you? Are you Christian?
I am, yeah.
Perfect. So you ready for tonight's faith ending question?
Dude, I think so. I've got a massive headache, so let's run it. Let's see.
Oh man, if you have a headache, you don't have to be here, okay?
I'll try to answer your questions as best as possible.
All right, perfect. So tonight's faith ending question is this. Why do you think a God of the universe chose a specific group of people to be his people, which would, I mean, if you're intelligent enough to understand, not you, the God should be intelligent and to understand that picking a group of people is going to breed and cause racism and division, right, within the rest of the human creation. So all of humans exist. He chose a specific group of goat herders, sheep herders, right? Said, these are my people. And he helped them win wars. He helped them do a bunch of stuff. This causes a superiority complex and also causes a lot of issues. As we see, he commands genocide. He commands a lot of terrible things, and he allows his people to commit this and is on their side throughout this. Why would a God of the universe choose a group of people when we're all supposed to be his creation? Why would he do such a thing?
So, okay, I'm trying to think of the best way to go about that, answering that. And I think that's going to be back in Exodus when they're under slavery from Pharaoh and the Egyptians. You kind of see the story of Moses and Moses was not supposed to be a person in power and never supposed to be someone who's supposed to lead a country, but God uses him through his failure. And that's, all of this is depending on if you believe the Bible. If you don't, then the argument makes no sense. So let's just assume you do, just to give you your answer that you asked. So he rescues the slaves, right? So he leads his people. And I think that's just because that's going to go off location of when the earth started, like all those things. And those are all different arguments. My best answer is going to be that they were marginalized at the time, right? So God takes them under his wing and shows his mercy to them, because without that happening, they would have been in slavery for, the rest of history.
He chose before that, Abraham. He chose Abraham.
Sorry, what? It lagged out right there.
Sorry, he chose before that. He chose Abraham. Abraham is the one he chose.
Yeah. So through the Bible, you can see promises like what he made to Abraham, like your descendants are going to be, more than the stars, they're going to be my people.
There it is.
I think the best answer to your question, man, and I enjoyed this live a few nights ago, and you had another question. I forget what it was, but it was good, and I was trying to think about, how I'd answer it. And I kind of
try to rotate them.
Yeah.
No, I try to rotate them, make it, nice and spicy every night.
It makes sense. It keeps it interesting in here. What was I saying? Abraham. I think, if you look through the Bible, it's as much as it's a story and as much as, it leads to other things that you could see as bad, like the racism that you're describing now. You have to look at the promise that he made and how he's kept them over time, because with every decision, you're going to be able to find good and bad. And that's going to be depending on how you look at it, because perception matters in most arguments. But I think
Picking a specific group of people
it is
going to cause a lot of division. It's going to cause a lot of issues, either immediately or down the road, right? And again,
down the road,
we are all humans, and God created all of us.
Yeah.
Him picking specific favorites is only going to cause issues, right? And maybe that group of people, maybe they're like, well, God's on our side, so they're living life, okay? God of the universe is on our side, but everybody else is going to look at that either immediately or again down the road when we can read about it and go, why is God of the universe choosing a specific group of people and commanding this group of people he picked? He's commanding them to go genocide and kill other people, his own creation, right? He could have chose the Canaanites or the Midianites or the Amalekites or all the other groups around. He could have chose Egypt. He decided, I want to choose this group of people and command them to kill my creation. Kind of weird.
That's an awesome question, and I was gonna kind of join in and say you probably will stump me. I think most Christians could say they will be stumped at some point. I had a talk with my boss today, and I got stumped. But am I lagging out?
It's a little laggy, but go ahead.
Can you hear me, or am I lagging out? Okay, sorry. I don't want to say you stumped me, but I want to say that I don't actually have an answer for that right now, because I just haven't looked into that. I don't want to say I know what I believe, because then you could ask me what do you believe? But I think if you give me the chance, because I obviously have been in this live before, I'll try to remember this question and come back with an answer another day, and just wait in the queue like everyone else, and I'll try to have an answer that I could be insightful with, because I couldn't honestly give you a good answer right now. So thanks for letting me in. I respect what you do and how you're respectful through it. So thank you.
Thank you, Kean. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Everyone has the answer. I'm waiting for the answer. Hello, is it Figa?
Fega, can you hear me?
Vega. Like Sega. I can. Are you Christian?
Yeah, I am.
All right, perfect. So are you ready for tonight's faith-ending question?
Well, I guess I am. I was thinking first time I've seen you, and I thought I was going to answer his question because I found it intriguing. But I guess if you have a different one.
Nope. Same question. Why would God choose a specific group of people, spawning racism throughout his creation?
Oh, okay, awesome. Thanks. Well, I think just like you mentioned, he chose Abraham, right? So the promise was to Abraham, and human beings not being perfect, there's going to be evil stuff. Say, for instance, now I'm not trying to be okay. Just say his people that he chose, even if they do bad things, he's given us free will. So you're not going to be like, oh, these are the people God chose and look at them doing bad stuff. All right. And then be like, these are God's chosen people. This is, they are maybe they're feeling superior and maybe, pushing racism and xenophobia and stuff like that. You'll be like, you see, this is God or something like that. It's like, no, he chose them, but they have free will. It's almost like, I think an example I can try and give you is if you favor someone, you give the person $1 million. If that person ends up being an asshole, because they have $1 million now, they're, really being rude and wicked and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to be like, oh, it's. I guess it was wrong for you to give that person $1 million. It's like they have free will to, I guess, then be horrible and stuff like that.
Don't you think God of the universe is smart enough to understand giving people certain gifts or choosing people over other groups of people is probably going to spawn some jealousy, some hatred, some racism, these issues. Now, granted, I'm agreeing with you. People can choose to do whatever they want, but it still remains a power dynamic, a system of power is saying, I'm choosing this people, and everybody around is, depending if the story is true, is looking at this and has to decide, why does the God of the universe choose them instead of the Canaanites, or Amalekites, Midianites, all the other groups of people that existed?
Yeah.
Why is God picking and choosing? Why is the God of the universe, a power dynamic, doing such a thing?
So
that's so not fair. It's very unfair, and it's going to cause issues, and a smart God should know that.
Okay, so I think we still have to kind of go back to this idea of choosing people, and you're saying he chose these people and not the Canaanites or the Amalekites and all these different people. Well, let's go back all the way to the beginning, which is beginning being Abraham. Obviously, that's not the very beginning, but he chose Abraham because Abraham was faithful, and that promise unto Abraham was that his seed would, be more than, I guess, or his generation or his lineage would be more than the stars of the sky because of Abraham's faithfulness to, being called. You understand? God called him. He went with God. Okay, Karen.
Abraham's faithful, got it, and I understand that. Don't you think anybody would be faithful if God just did a little bit of effort to show that he exists and called upon a human? Like if an angel appeared in front of a human back then or any time in history, don't you think any human ever, seeing a godly creature, would, I don't know, bow down to it, believe it, praise it, do something?
Funny enough, if you look at the situation with Egypt, God was trying to show, he used Moses to show that, hey, I'm God, you understand? Moses' staff, swallowed the snakes of the other Egyptians. There were so many signs that you would think, okay, Egyptians or Pharaoh, okay, let these people go or bow to, God. But, human beings are stubborn, and sometimes, even when given, I don't know if to say proof and evidence of God's superiority, they would still go their way because, again, free will.
Yeah. Again, so Abraham being chosen because he had the faith, God just did the smallest bit of effort to just reveal himself or do something to show he exists or that he's a real God or whatever. Logically speaking, there's going to be more than just Abraham. And logically speaking, he doesn't need to pick a specific group of people. Even if Abraham This is a problem with my question, right? This is why I'm asking it.
Okay.
Even if Abraham is faithful,
Yeah.
why does that mean that God has to choose a choose a group of people? God still doesn't, just because Abraham is faithful. Okay, great. Don't choose a group of people at all, period. Don't choose anybody. That's the whole point of the question.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because as a result of Adam and Eve sinning, man had fallen out of a relationship with God. And God is trying to create a system to get back into a relationship with God. I was listening to a video today and it said that God is not just interested in just letting people know, hey, I'm God and I exist. That would be, I would say, pretty easy. It's not just about knowing, hey, by the way, I'm God. If not, he might just pull back the curtain of, space and time and just show everyone, hey, I'm God. But it's about him having a relationship with us.
Well,
you understand?
A relationship starts with people actually existing, right? I mean, you can start a relationship right now, a friendship, a romantic relationship, a partnership in business, a work versus coworker versus all sorts of relationships that exist, right? Me and you as humans talking could start a relationship because we're talking to each other and having it back and forth. A God who doesn't respond back to me, who doesn't give me anything and doesn't even prove to me that he exists, how's that a relationship?
All right, so let me see if I can answer that. I believe we've been given enough proof just by looking around at nature to understand the existence of a creator. Before you can have a creation, an intelligent design that we are, you inherently know, I think like the last person, Keegan, might have been saying, I'm going to mess up his words, so I'll just use mine. But I believe we inherently know that there's a creator. So it comes from us to seek a relationship.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't, and many others don't. And the people who do are all arguing on who that creator is. Wouldn't it be nice that creator just showed himself? I'm the creator. Hi, everybody. So you're not confused anymore, and you're not having wars and killing each other over me.
Yeah.
I exist.
I don't know if I'm going to answer this question very well. I think he has shown himself through the person of Jesus Christ.
That's just a book.
Why do you say that's just a book? You don't think it's...
It's a fact. That's just a book. A book says a thing, another book says a thing, and another book says a thing, and many people are fighting over whose book is right.
You don't think it's historically accurate?
No, I don't think that people rise from the dead. I don't think zombies walk around the city. I don't think that donkeys talk. I don't think that animals talk in general. I don't think that angels exist, given the evidence. We don't have any evidence of angels. I don't think there's... all the claims of the Bible are not being proven true. They're proven opposite. Anything to do with Adam and Eve, like you brought up, has been proven false. Like 100%. We know that's not a fact. Because two people cannot populate in our genomes would not have enough data, right? So you need a certain amount of data to keep on populating. Two people wouldn't be enough, right? So we can prove that false just by DNA, right? DNA completely just destroys the Adam and Eve theory. You can say God made more people after the garden. I guess you can say that. Yeah. There's no evidence of that. But science disproves a lot of the Bible. And again...
I don't know about the DNA, so I guess I would have to look that up. And that's interesting. First time I've heard of that. But there's something you said about you don't see donkeys talking, you don't see all these different things. Do you think, how is this said? But just not experiencing that does not equate to that not ever being possible. I don't know if that makes sense. There's a way that
it does. I know what you're saying. However, we know it's impossible. It's not like, is it possible or not? We know it's impossible. Donkeys do not have the vocal cords and capability to talk. It's impossible.
Well,
right.
The way the Bible doesn't just maybe go like, by the way, donkeys can talk, and then it's like, wait a minute. No, donkeys can't talk. It is clear. It's clear in the Bible that there was a spiritual, like activation of some sort going on there. It's not just like the Bible saying, "Oh, it's normal for donkeys to talk."
I'm not going to die on it. I'm not dying on the hills. Donkeys talking. There's more to it. Exactly. People don't rise from the dead, right? Do you agree? People don't just rise from the dead randomly,
unless you have a specific situation like Jesus
No.
Christ, but normally, okay, yeah, I can.
I'm saying,
I'm not trying to
has there ever been a documented, verified case? Verified. We've seen it. We have witnessed it.
So
That's
when
been,
you say
that we can 100% falsify, meaning that it's not a book says a thing. We have concrete 100% evidence no one could deny.
Okay, so if
Not
you,
book says thing.
yeah. So if you, for instance, okay, let's say someone else, not you. If someone else died now and they came back to life, 100 years from now, it wouldn't be something you can see now. It would be, obviously, since technology maybe is now advanced, maybe there might be video evidence. But in the past, if someone did die and come back to life, there would be no other way for us to know besides actually it being in a book. So when you say, oh, it's a book and that's no evidence of it actually happened or happening, it's like, how else would the information have gotten down to us in a time where there wasn't as much technology?
Right. So book says thing. Right.
Okay.
So to me, book says thing is not evidence.
Do you
Right?
think
Books,
that
book says
Alexander
many
the
books
Great
say
existed?
things.
Do you believe Alexander the Great existed?
I think it's very possible. Book says thing, and we have evidence to back it up and go, yeah, it's very likely that Alexander the Great existed.
How much evidence do you think exists or shows the existence of Alexander the Great, and how much do you think there is trying to prove that Jesus Christ as a person existed?
Well, there's more evidence for Alexander the Great, in my opinion, right?
Okay.
And there's less evidence for Jesus. Now, Jesus might have existed. I'm not saying he didn't exist. I'm just saying someone existing doesn't mean they're God. Was Julius Caesar? Do you think Julius Caesar existed?
I believe so. I presume so. It's not something I would argue against. It's like, okay, he might have existed, yeah.
Right. Do you think Julius Caesar was God?
No.
Okay. He claimed to be God.
Okay.
Right. So two people, we have two claims, Jesus and Julius Caesar. Both claim to be God, both have historical evidence that they might have existed, but we're not 100% sure, but pretty arguably we can say they probably existed, right?
Okay.
Both of them. Both claim to be God. Why do you choose Jesus? Why do you not choose Julius Caesar?
Because the Bible that I believe is accurate. I believe it's accurate for reasons that it's been written by different people, and we've seen old I don't say scrolls now that actually prove that okay, this is old material. We have old manifestos and stuff like that show okay, well, this is actually something that has been documented. And then in the case of Jesus Christ, you had these disciples and people who were going against. It's not like I presume I don't know much about Julius Caesar, but I would just okay. Let me not make any assumptions about Julius Caesar and his claim to be God. But in the case of Jesus Christ claiming to be God and his disciples who followed and believed that, it wasn't to their gain. You understand? There would only be it's almost like what would be the gain for someone to believe Jesus Christ was God and to die for him?
The same amount of gain for any other person in history claiming to be God or be the voice of God or being a prophet of God. The same reason we see this. This is the same. I know this is the same reason we see this happen all throughout human history. This is not unique. This is not a one-off. There are many people throughout history who've claimed to be God, claim to know God, claim to serve God, all sorts of claims out there. Because why? It gives you wealth, fame, power, etc.
Is that what happened with the disciples, though? Did they have fame, power, any of those things?
Do you think anybody who's made these claims outside, not just Christianity, extra biblical, so Quran, Book of Mormon, so Mormonism, Buddhists, pick your religion, pick your flavor, pick any historical figure who's done such a thing. Do you think they started this knowing it would be successful, or do you think they tried it and some were successful? Because you got to think about the millions of people who have tried the similar things and were not successful, right? So the point I'm making is very simple. People make claims. People want wealth, fame, power, all sorts of things. They don't know if they're going to get it. Some do, some do not. These people, the disciples, did not know what the outcome might have been. but they could have gone with it trying to get fame, wealth, and power, or some sort of meaning out of life.
Yeah. So as you see, and not just as they saw that was not the case, they were getting beheaded, boiled in oil.
We don't know. We don't know. We actually don't have good evidence for any of that.
Okay, so essentially, you just throw the Bible out. It's like it's not trustworthy material for discussion.
Well, I'll give you a reason why.
Okay.
One of the best stories in the Bible of Jesus. Okay, those without sin cast the first stone. You know what story I'm talking about?
No. Please tell me.
John chapter 7, 53 through 8:11. Okay. John chapter 7, the Gospel of John chapter 7, 53, and then read that little blurb when you go read it tonight. Through chapter 8, verse 11, there's a story of the adulteress, the woman who's found in adultery. Okay. You know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah.
And then they want to stone her, and then he says, you without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah, I know the story,
Yeah, that story wasn't added till the 12th century. That story is in none of the early manuscripts. There is a similar like story, but not this story. It's similar, not this story. And none of the early manuscripts we have, and by early manuscripts, I'm talking about 300 to 400 AD. Those manuscripts that we have, the earliest ones that we can pull from, 3 to 400 AD, don't have this story. Further down the line, don't have this story. Where does it pop up? Somewhere in the 12th century. One of the biggest stories of Jesus Christ that's taught on Sunday for pastors all over the world, not even in the freaking Bible till the 12th century. And go in your Bibles right now, everybody here, 500 something people here, and I'll read it for you on my live. Okay, go to your Bibles, flip open to John chapter 7. Go to John 7, and at the very end, there's a little blurb that says something like this: the earliest manuscripts and many other ancient witnesses do not have John 7:53 through 8:11. A few manuscripts included these verses wholly or in part after John 7:36, John 21:25, 21:38, Luke 24:53. Okay, so a lot of what it's saying is we don't have this in our early manuscripts, and when you look into it, and this is Christians who will tell you this, it pops up around the 12th century. This is a big chunk, big story. We don't even know where it came from. And it came so far, 1,200 or so years after Jesus' death. I doubt he even said this stuff. So based off that, yeah, 12th century, right? Okay. So at least 1,000 years or so, after Jesus' death, this story is now in the Bible. It's there, and now forever it's going to be. We don't even know. Obviously, Jesus probably didn't say this stuff. And obviously this story probably didn't happen because it was put into the Bible so far after the events. Okay? Probably based off this, we can now just assume the rest of it is garbage. Because if this is a huge glaring issue, in my opinion, big plot hole, why wouldn't you say the rest for the same when you realize the earliest manuscripts we have are hundreds of years after the events and could be tampered with, just like this verse? How do you know they weren't tampered with?
It's the same thing that I was talking about Alexander the Great. Do you know when the earliest, manuscripts about him came? How many years after his death? Or Julius Caesar as well? When Julius Caesar? Exactly.
But I'm not asking or talking about Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar being God and worshiping them, am I?
Well, I guess we'll be talking about them existing as human beings, right? So again,
I'm not saying, remember, I didn't say if Jesus exists or not. Okay, yeah, I grant you he existed. He probably did. Most cults start from a real person. Okay, he existed. But everything in the stories could be completely altered and changed. How would you know?
I would still argue that, and this would go back to the gain that these people didn't have, but I don't know, we might be going in circles at this point. But I feel like these people didn't have any reason to lie for, especially seeing how there was nothing to gain from, being with Jesus Christ. They were ostracized from their communities. You understand? They were stoned. It was, what's his name?
Yeah, people always have an incentive to lie. What are you talking about?
Okay,
Think about this. There's 12 people who supposedly gave up their lives to follow this man.
Yes.
And then this man dies on a cross.
Okay.
What are they? Now everybody knows them around their cities, their village, their families. Everybody knows who these 12 people are. They're following this Jesus guy. There's a big crowd following at this time. Okay?
Yeah.
Their Messiah, the one who was supposed to save them, and the Messiah of the Old Testament is supposed to be the King of Israel, supposed to conquer and bring world peace, and do all these messianic prophecies. And they thought this man, Jesus, was the Messiah. Dies.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think if you were that person at that moment?
Yeah. Obviously, they have an incentive to lie. Of course, they have an incentive to lie.
They ran
because the man who they thought was the Messiah just died.
So you think
what other options do they have?
And so you believe they were then able to, after he died, they were then able to fool, I don't know, and just start the whole movement. It says in the text that they actually ran and hid and were afraid. Mm-hmm. But then Jesus actually came back to life.
Yeah.
And then they were filled with, boldness and truth.
Yeah. The funny thing is...
And went on to die for those reasons.
The funny thing is, those people, his disciples... we don't have any of their actual writings, and we don't know, maybe Peter. We don't know what they saw, what they wrote, right? We have Paul, who came into the picture way later, didn't even meet Jesus when he was alive. And then we have the Roman government, who adopted this religion and could possibly have altered as much as they wanted. Because, here's a fun fact, our first earliest manuscript is P52. It's the Gospel of John, about this big, a little scrap. And that's about 150 AD. And of Matthew, P86, another little scrap of Matthew, this big, 3rd to 4th century. Rome adopted Christianity around the 312, around then, Don't you think, given this evidence, we have scraps. This is what we have, this big. Not chapters, nothing. This, of internet, something happened. Don't you think Rome taking over would have greatly altered the religion that they took part in to, one, make Rome not look so bad. This Pontius Pilate guy doing a little too much. Let's make the Jews the bad guy, not Rome. Don't you think Rome could easily just manipulate what they want? And don't you think after the Rome, all the people after that, think about all the popes, the British Empire, all the people who were in power, the kings and queens throughout the centuries and centuries, who were heads of their country, who wanted to change things like divorce ain't that bad, Henry VIII. Divorce isn't that bad. I want to divorce my wife. We got to change some stuff, Pope. Mm-hmm. Don't you think people throughout the ages could have twisted and changed Jesus' words, changed the Bible, changed a bunch of stuff? And what you're reading right now, the Bible we have today, we have no idea what was actually going on.
Yeah, well, I would say definitely it's possible. We could only speculate how much could be changed over the years and things like that, and it would be just a case of we can't trust anything. I would, however, argue, and I still want to some more people can go, and I'll try to keep this short, but I would say if these people had the opportunity to change the Bible, and men, in their, I don't know to say, debauchery and pride and all that, they maybe supposedly changed the Bible, yet what the Bible still teaches today is some of the best ways to live, you understand? Then I don't need to say they failed. But going back, I just want to go back briefly to the disciples and how I don't think it makes sense, because you said, okay, well, they could lie. Jesus just died. This person they've been following and all that, he just died. I guess it's time for us to lie about him coming back to life. But by the time, they start getting killed, they start getting tortured, they're getting ostracized from society and things of that nature. I don't see the incentive to continue a lie that clearly is, bringing about negativity and bringing about, just essentially the destruction of your life, So I don't think that makes sense. So in that same sense, the way that doesn't make sense, I kind of feel like the idea that over the years the Bible maybe has changed because of the Roman kings and popes. It doesn't make sense that if they wanted to allow maybe all oh, let's say divorce isn't good. Let's say you actually should kill this person if you don't like this person. Well, that's not actually what the Bible teaches, that you should go kill someone if you don't like them, at least not the New Testament. And bringing this back, ending this on your very first point about how God choosing a certain group of people therefore brings about racism and genocide and things of that nature. God said he wanted to reveal himself through one person. He wanted to show his mercy and reveal Jesus Christ through a people. And as we can see, God doesn't just choose the Israelites and let them do whatever they want and then just say, hey, I've chosen you, you just be you, but I've chosen you and these other people have not chosen them. After he chose Abraham and he had his people through them, you can see that he has his laws for them. So it's not just choosing a group of people and having them do whatever they want. It's like having a group of, yeah, exactly. And he still judges them when they messed up by using other nations to judge Israel, Babylon, and all these nations. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. I gotta get going to bed, but I appreciate your responses. Okay,
thank you so much. Have a good night. Okay,
you too. Jaleesa, stop being bad. Bad girl, Jaleesa. Come on now. Stop spamming, Jaleesa. Jaleesa, we're going to have a talk. He didn't stump me, guys. It's the same response I hear over and over. He was a good guest, though. At least thanks for being respectful. I appreciate it. But I'm not. No, it's not no reason, Jaleesa. I see what you're doing in the comments. You're spamming. Just don't spam. It's that simple. You can say what you want. Just don't spam. Drink some coffee. Now I gotta get to bed. Bye. Now, not before. You were spamming. I saw you. I caught you. Don't be spamming. You can say Jesus loves you. Just don't spam it over and over. Don't be a spammer, Jaleesa. I like having crazy conversations with you, so don't get banned by my mods. I gotta get going, Jaleesa. I'm not going to talk to you. We'll spend forever. Thank you guys so much for coming up. The faith ending question's done for the night. I gotta get going. My mods. My mods come first. I trust them. Don't spam. Your mod told me I was close to preaching. You are preaching, Jaleesa. You know yourself. You know you're always preaching. Don't come up here and lie. You know you like to preach. Okay, I know you, girl. Yeah, now you are. Well, yes, now I am. Don't preach. Just come up. Have fun. Enjoy the live, okay? Thank you guys so much for coming up. W to my mods, everybody. I forgot who I've made mods. Shazza. Thank you. Rhett, I think you're mod. I'm not sure. I think I tried to make you mod, but I think maybe I have too many. Thank you, everybody. On tomorrow, possibly because it's Friday, and I might bring drinking some tea. And Otter, if you're here, thank you. So W to my mods, thank you, Otter, Shazza, and everybody. Schley. I know, don't leave. I know we're having so much fun. Tomorrow is Friday, so we're going to have some tea time. I was going to have tea time tonight, but I'm feeling a little bit sickly, a little bit under the weather. So I was like, I don't want to have tea time if I'm feeling not too great, but hopefully tomorrow I'll feel a little bit better. All right, guys. Julie's coming. Jaleesa, be good. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your night. I'm not sure what time tomorrow, just how it flows. Thank you so much for coming up tonight. Go do something friendly. Hey, tomorrow's Friday, baby. Friday. Go out on a nice, beautiful Friday with a smile on your face. Go be friendly to people, to your coworker, to your neighbor, to the person that you're like, oh, it's getting on my nerves, Jaleesa. You're getting on my nerves, but I'll be nice to you. I'll be friendly. Okay. I know, Shazza. It's hard, but we gotta be friendly as much as she's testing us. But hey, speaking of tests, I passed my exam today, guys. Woohoo! I passed a big exam. It was a basic physical. I had to go through and do a basic physical, head to toe. Lots of stuff to remember. Oh my God, so many words to remember. You have to like palpate things and be like, I'm looking for size, shape, and deformity. I'm looking for the eyes and conjunctiva and the sclera for icterus and lesion. And every part of the body, you have to be like, I'm looking for this. I'm looking. Oh my God, there's like hundreds and hundreds of things, but I did it.